The sun glittered across the Santa Monica Pier that day, turning every wave into a strip of liquid gold and every laugh into a promise that life was beautiful. Music floated from street performers, children dragged balloons through the air, and the Ferris wheel spun like a bright wheel of dreams. And yet, in the middle of all that joy, one girl sat quietly in her wheelchair, trying to disappear. Marissa Hart had learned how to shrink herself since the accident. She had mastered the art of pretending she didn't notice the stares. She had perfected the silent smile that hid how much she missed her old body, her old strength, her old life. But that morning, she told herself she would reclaim something she'd lost, the courage to be seen. She rolled out to the pier alone, head high, heart trembling, lemon-scented breeze brushing her cheeks. Today, she wanted to feel normal again, but normal didn't last. 3 young men noticed her, loud, swaggering, and hungry for attention. Their laughter sliced through the air, and when they approached her, the world around her seemed to freeze. One leaned down, breath hot with cruelty, and whispered a word meant to break her move. Then came the shove. The boot to her wheelchair. The sickening tilt that nearly sent her crashing. The roar of laughter that followed. And worst of all, the silence of everyone around her. She thought she was alone, she thought the world had turned its back, she thought kindness had abandoned her, but then the ground began to shake. The air began to vibrate. A deep rumble rolled across the boardwalk, a rumble that would change everything. The bikers had arrived, the sun shone brightly on the Santa Monica Pier where laughter, music, and the smell of cotton candy mixed into a recipe of perfect California magic. Families wandered across the wooden planks, children tugged their parents toward the rides, and couples leaned over the railing, watching waves crash below like pieces of shattered blue glass. Everything felt alive, bright, warm, buzzing, but in the middle of that cheerful ocean of life sat one girl who wished she could blend in just a little more. Marissa Hart, 19 years old, brown hair pulled into a neat braid, sat in her wheelchair near the carousel. She loved the pier. She loved the Ferris wheel lights, the guitarists playing for spare change, the salty wind that smelled like freedom. Coming here made her feel human again, not trapped inside a body that no longer listened to her commands. Ever since the accident 6 months ago, she'd been learning how to exist all over again. How to push herself through crowds. How to pretend the stares didn't sting. How to swallow the shame of being treated differently. But that morning, she woke up determined. She was going to buy lemonade, watch the ocean, listen to street music, and simply be. Just like everyone else, she rolled forward with careful pushes, the sunlight warming her face. For a moment, just a moment, she felt normal again, but normal didn't last. 3 young men were swaggering down the boardwalk, laughing too loudly, bumping into each other, desperate for attention. One wore a floral shirt unbuttoned halfway down, tattoos twisting like vines across his chest and arms. The other 2 wore cut-off denim vests and wore their arrogance like cologne. When they spotted Marissa, their grins sharpened. Predators who had found a target, they walked toward her slowly, deliberately, pushing through the crowd with shoulders squared. One leaned down so close she could smell his cheap cologne and whispered a single word dripping with venom: "Move." The word hit harder than a slap. Before she could react, before she could even breathe, his boot slammed into her wheelchair, the chair jolted sideways. Marissa gasped, arms flailing to steady herself. Her tire skidded against a plank, nearly sending her toppling to the ground. Her heart hammered. Her face burned with humiliation. The boys burst into cruel laughter. "Bet you can't even get up without help," another sneered, leaning over her with a smirk so wide it looked painful. A third doubled over laughing, slapping his knee dramatically. People looked, but no one stepped in. That silence, heavy, ugly, suffocating, hurt more than the shove. Marissa felt tears blur her vision. She grabbed her wheels, ready to leave, ready to hide, ready to escape the humiliation, but then something changed. At first it was just a sound. A vibration. A deep rumble rolling across the planks of the pier. The bullies stopped laughing, the crowd turned. From the road leading to the pier, a line of motorcycles appeared, chrome glinting in the sunlight like mirrors of fire. They rode in slowly but powerfully, dozens of them, maybe more. Leather vests. Thick boots. Tattoos that looked like stories etched into skin, engines growled like thunder rolling off the ocean, the boardwalk trembled, people whispered, the bullies paled, Marissa froze, the motorcycles parked in perfect formation. Riders swung off their bikes with purpose. Men and women, some young, some weathered by years, walked forward with steady, powerful strides. Their faces were stone masks of anger and justice, but they weren't heading for the crowd, they were heading for her. A sea of leather and steel moved as one until they formed a wide half-circle around Marissa. Not blocking her in, but guarding her. Protecting her, the bullies tried to back away, but the bikers closed the distance too quickly, forming a solid wall of muscle and resolve. At the front stood the leader. A tall man with a silver beard, arms crossed over a chest built like a brick wall, and eyes that burned with righteous fury. He didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He just stared at the bullies, and the look alone could have broken bones. The air went quiet. The three young men shrank back like their bravado had been sucked out of them. No one touched them. No one needed to. The message was clear: you don't hurt her again. You don't hurt anyone like her again. Shaking, humiliated, the bullies stumbled backward through the crowd and fled down the pier, disappearing as fast as they had come. The crowd watched them go, some clapping quietly. Then the giant biker with the silver beard turned. His hard expression softened instantly when he looked at Marissa. He crouched so he was at eye level and spoke in a deep, gravelly voice that carried unexpected gentleness. You're safe now. Marissa swallowed hard. Tears finally fell. She nodded because she couldn't speak around the lump in her throat. Other bikers gave her thumbs up. One rested a gentle hand on the back of her chair. Another offered her a napkin to wipe her tears. No pity. No judgment, only respect. For the first time since the accident, she didn't feel small, she felt seen, she felt protected, she felt worthy. The pier erupted into applause. Children clapped. Parents cheered. Strangers stepped forward to reassure her. Even people who had been silent before now looked remorseful, but it didn't matter anymore. Kindness had spoken louder than cruelty, and compassion had won. Later, videos of the moment went viral. Comments flooded in from around the world, stories from people who had needed someone to stand up for them, or regretted the times they didn't stand up for someone else. Marissa's experience became more than a moment. It became a message. A reminder of the world we should all fight to create. A world where kindness protects.